Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. We're continuing to follow some breaking news here, bringing you some additional information on this story as President Trump is imposing an additional 25% tariff on India. Here's this post coming in here from the Associated Press. President Trump signed an executive order today to place that additional 25% tariff on India for its purchases of Russian oil, bringing the combined tariffs imposed by the U.S. on India to 50%. The tariffs would go into effect 21 days after the signing of the order, meaning that both India and Russia might have time to negotiate with the administration on the import taxes. President Trump's move could reshape India's economic ambitions. Many American companies have seen India as an alternative to the Chinese manufacturing that President Trump had hoped to reduce there through the use of tariffs. Even though China also buys oil from Russia, Beijing was not subject to the additional tariffs in the order signed by President Trump. The U.S. and China are currently in negotiations on trade, and Washington imposing a 30% tariff on Chinese goods and facing a 10% retaliatory tax from Beijing on American products. What you're seeing on your screen right now, this is a post from X from Rapid Response 47. So this is from the White House. They're saying, new President Donald J. Trump just signed an executive order imposing an additional 25% tariff on India in response to its continued purchase of Russian oil. This is a very small snippet of a very lengthy post that the White House did put out there on X, breaking this all down here. So I also wanted to read some of the text of the order. So this says, I have received additional information from various senior officials on, among other things, the actions of the government of the Russian Federation with respect to the situation in Ukraine. After considering this additional information, among other things, I find that the national emergency described in Executive Order 14066 continues, and that the actions and policies of the government of the Russian Federation continue to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States. This goes on to say, to deal with the national emergency described in Executive Order 14066, I determined that it is necessary and appropriate to impose an additional ad valorem duty on imports of articles of India, which is directly or indirectly importing Russian Federation oil. In my judgment, imposing tariffs as described below, in addition to maintaining the other measures taken to address the national emergency described in Executive Order 14066, will more effectively deal with the national emergency described in that executive order. Once again, a very lengthy post there from the White House. We didn't even read that entirely in full there because it does go on to just really break down what is in this. But that is the gist of it as we are giving you that live look there in Washington, D.C. right now. If you are just joining us, President Trump imposing an additional 25% tariff on India.